Hello, welcome back to another episode of Extractions&Ire, and today's project, well, it's going to be a lot longer than today, but this project for this video is we're going to be making some bismuth germanate glass. Bismuth germanate glass is a heavy metal oxide glass used in infrared applications, and we'll talk about that more in a second, but really this video is an excuse to do some germanium chemistry. Germanium's one of these strange looking metalloid elements. It's kind of shiny like a metal, but you can tell it's really brittle, and it's definitely not a metal just by looking at it. It sits in that weird kind of part of the periodic table underneath silicon. It sort of looks very similar to silicon. In many ways, it's used in applications where you can't use silicon. It's kind of like your backup silicon. To be fair to germanium, it is very hard to compete with silicon for a lot of industries. I mean, silicon makes up most of the Earth's crust, and we make a lot of high purity silicon around the world. But germanium does come up quite often. Most of it's in high-tech applications, and quite often it's in the mid-infrared. That's one of the coolest things about samples of germanium is that it's completely transparent in the mid-infrared. If we get out my thermal camera, which images from about 8 to 12 microns, we see that the germanium sample is completely transparent in this range, which is very cool because it's obviously completely opaque under visible light. And germanium is used exactly for this application, quite a bit actually, for mid-infrared optics, especially for military-grade thermal cameras or something like that, because it's so hard blocking below 2 microns, but quite transparent over that sort of thermal infrared band. And this is the case for the oxides as well. Silicon dioxide has this huge absorbance peak around 2.7 microns, which is just not there for germanium dioxide. This is really important because the vast majority of optical fibers, you know, the thing the internet runs over, are from normal silicon glass, so silicon dioxide. But you can't use silicon dioxide glass if you want to do mid-infrared applications, whether that's making lasers at 3 microns or doing telecom stuff and sending undersea signals in the mid-infrared rather than in the kind of near-infrared like we do currently. You can't use silicon dioxide glass. So this is how we get to bismuth germanate. So it's kind of, I mean, it's a research level kind of material, but it shows good infrared properties either for mid-infrared light generation or trying to send signals over. And I do have a sample of bismuth germanate glass. This is what we're trying to end up with at the end of the project. And this is thanks to turtleshoard.com. He sent through some bismuth germanate samples, as well as a whole lot of other samples. Man, he just sends me the coolest shit, man. Gotta say, this is kind of what we're going to end up with. There's also another material called bismuth germanate oxide. This is a more pure kind of bismuth germanate, and this is used as a scintillator. So I've got some cool samples as well from Turtle Hoard, so thanks for that. We're not going to be trying to make that one today. I think that's going to be too weird about crystallizing it properly, so we're kind of making the bismuth germanate glass, which is more just a random mix of bismuth germanate sort of species all together. Germanium generally comes in zinc deposits. It's not a particularly rare element, but it's never concentrated that much. But there is still always generally a demand for germanium because it's used in such a variety of high-tech applications. Why bismuth germanate? What's the bismuth doing there? What's the importance of bismuth? Let me introduce you to a process I like to call the material science gameplay loop. Generally in material science, you're in one of these two camps. Both of them are important. You're either on the side of inventing new materials that have fantastic properties and can do all this performance that previously we could not do. Or you're on the side of trying to match the performance of those materials, but without using lead or cadmium. It's perhaps the greatest tragedy of biology that we can't suffer lead. Lead is like one of the best technology elements. Batteries, solar panels, fucking so much stuff uses lead, and it would be great if we could use lead. Lead is so abundant, it's so easy to mine, it's incredibly cheap, it can make all this technology, but if we start using that technology, the lead in the atmosphere makes us dumber. How weird is that? The faster we progress using lead, the dumber we get. Have you ever thought about how fucked up that is? All right, we're here to do chemistry. What are we going to do about chemistry? Well, to make the bismuth germanate glass, we need to mix bismuth oxide with germanium oxide and heat it to like 100 degrees Celsius. That's quite high. I'm hoping we can use the microwave furnace, which we've used in previous videos, and we know it gets over 1000 degrees Celsius to melt the glass together. Bismuth trioxide, that's easy done. We'll just buy some. I think I have some lying around. We don't worry about the bismuth too much, but the germanium dioxide we need to make from the germanium metal. And germanium metal is not that reactive. So going from the germanium metal to the germanium dioxide, it's not super easy. We have to go, as far as I could tell, via the germanium tetrachloride. tetrachloride. Once we have the tetrachloride, we can react it with water and it's going to just make germanium dioxide, which we can then use in the reaction once we've dried it out. So that's how we're getting to germanium dioxide via the germanium tetrachloride. The positive thing about germanium tetrachloride is that it should be super cool. We're making like this volatile tetrachloride metalloid material. It should be super fun. The bad part about it is that it is particularly unpleasant, I assume. Germanium isn't as toxic as you would think. That's not saying it's, completely safe, but I was surprised that an element that kind of looks like this could not be highly toxic. But it turns out that it just has no biological role, and the chemistry of it is just, I suppose, so different than all the other ions that your body doesn't get confused and think it's something else. So it doesn't really interfere with much going on in your body. So germanium itself is not super duper toxic. I mean, it's next to arsenic on the periodic table. So, like compared to arsenic or something like that, it's not super toxic. But the germanium tetrachloride is still going to react with water to form a solid, which is the germanium dioxide, and hydrochloric acid. So if this germanium tetrachloride gets in our eyes or my lungs, it's going to, form acid and a solid in the lungs. While not super toxic, it's still going to be super unpleasant, let's say. So we've got to really think about how we do this. That's really our main step. Going from this element sample, we've got about 10 grams to germanium tetrachloride. We're not going to really store the germanium tetrachloride. We're going to react it to form the germanium dioxide, and then we can react it with the bismuth to form the glass. And hopefully we end up with a product that looks kind of vaguely like how we want it to. It's a little bit intimidating thinking about this poison that we've got to do, but I'm excited as always. So let's get into it. All right, we've got quite a bit of glassware. We need this all to make this all work. I think I've got it all. We've got chlorine generator here with these two pool chemicals. Chlorine will vaguely come through some tubing into this. This will be our chlorine drying station over some concentrated sulfuric acid. Chlorine comes through, comes out, and then into this flask here with our germanium. We'll heat this and distill over the germanium tetrachloride, cool it down, condense it into this flask, and then do some scrubbing at the end to remove the chlorine and any residual germanium tetrachloride that we don't want to escape into the atmosphere and our lungs, etc. So we've got to maybe stir this. It'd be good if we could stir this. That's not a necessity. We want to heat this. We want to cool this. We need the water. I might run some argon all the way through this just to keep everything purging. So a lot of setup to do. I can feel the music coming in. I can feel this being a montage moment. So let's go. Let's get our build on. Hell yeah, let's do it. And we're all set up, I think. I've even remembered to put sunscreen on, and I've found some tinted bloody safety glasses so I don't go blind so much. We're coming out of summer, so I think we've got like 8 clouds today, which is fantastic. They're providing our sort of sun protection today. Thanks, clouds. It's good to see. Yeah, shit. Everything is kind of set up but not running yet. Let's start at the beginning. So we've got argon. We've got an argon line that comes through and comes into here. But this is our chlorine generator. We've got hydrochloric acid. This is just pool grade acid. It's diluted by half, so it's like straight out of the bottle, it's like 30%, 32%, so it's about 15%. And we've got this trichlorocyanuric acid, which is this pool chemical, and these two generate chlorine in a kind of a nice sort of steady fashion. It's big chunks in here with just some water at the moment, and that sort of generates the chlorine, not all at once like a big surge of chlorine, but sort of a nice slow generation, which is what we want. It comes through our filthy sulfuric acid here, which is drying. It's all flowing because we're just running a little bit of argon through. Comes out here through this tubing. The tubing is just vinyl tubing. It's not going to be particularly resistant to the chlorine. It should be fine for today, but we might have to throw it out after today, after it gets exposed to a bit of chlorine. It goes yellow and gets a bit brittle, so we'll throw it out, but it should be all right for today. Comes down through this piece to our germanium. Our germanium's in there. It's in big chunks, and then it comes through. It should distill over, come through. We've got our cold condenser, the ice water in there, into the flask, and it comes out and then goes through this scrubber here, which is just some sodium carbonate solution with a little funnel here, so that it sort of generates some negative pressure, so that the germanium tetrachloride absorbs the water from the atmosphere, generates a bit of negative pressure. It can suck liquid back through the other way, but the funnel here kind of stops that. It shouldn't be an issue because we got the positive pressure from the argon, but if I start to take any of this apart or at any point, what we really don't want is we don't want everything to get sucked back through. A couple of big unknowns with this setup, and the biggest one being how quickly is the germanium going to react with the chlorine. I genuinely do not know. I could not find that information out, whether it's going to be super reactive or going to take a lot of work to get it to react. For this reason, I've left the germanium as reasonably large chunks. There's a bit of powder in there, but I didn't powder it really finely, just because I'm worried about if it gets to a certain temperature and there's chlorine gas, it'll go like, you know, I don't need to make the fucking sound effects, but you know, like if it takes off like a rocket, it's going to be really bad. We don't want that. We want it to sort of gently make it. We do have to heat this because we want to distill off the tetrachloride, but 100 degrees or so, that should be all right. So we just want to continually drive off the tetrachloride and sort of just drive this reaction forward. It's all right if it happens sort of quickly, but we don't want it to bloody take off. We won't be able to capture everything. It'll be a nightmare. Gotta make sure this is all sealed properly. So yeah, I'm just going to gently give this a bit of heat. If it's just cold and when you start running the chlorine through, it's just going to be a waste of chlorine. And finally, I haven't said anything about the chlorine generation, and we're just generating chlorine. And obviously, this is, you know, a bad thing to do, or like a very dangerous thing to do. Chlorine is super toxic. It was used as a chemical warfare agent, so we are generating it. But you know, that being said, I love chlorine. I love chlorine. It's a nice gas to use in this setup. It behaves nicely, but only because I have done this quite a few times. I kind of get how this chlorine generation works. We don't want it to generate a lot of chlorine at once, because that will be very bad and can kill us. So we're getting a bit of wind today. It's fantastic. A little bit of gentle chlorine. We'll scrub it out. We shouldn't have any issues, but obviously I don't want to pretend that this is just trivial and we're just, you know, happily generating chlorine like it's not an issue. Like it is. It's still fucking chlorine. Great. You're feeling confident? Once this gets a little bit hotter, we'll start pushing some chlorine in to the system. Fantastic. Let's do it. We've got some floaties already in there. It's working, sort of. That's definitely reacting. We're just still we've got a bit of cloudy smoke in there. A couple of drops of stuff. Look at it drop in. Cool. Whoa, look at that milky nonsense in there. Love a bit of milky nonsense. Alrighty, here we are. And here is some beautiful clear liquid. Slightly yellow. It's probably dissolved chlorine. So not quite the nice clear solution that I was hoping for, but it's fine. I'm extremely happy with this. A lot of solid in this trap, which is probably germanium dioxide as well. We've got a little bit of solid still in the flask, but I've lost stirring. Oh, we're stirring its back. It looked like we melted the Teflon a little. Yeah, this took a little bit longer than I expected, but it's good. Do it slowly and get it done. As long as we got the sunscreen on, I think I'm okay. My neck hurts a little, but apart from that, we're okay. And not too much chlorine. There's occasionally the faint smell of a swimming pool, but the trap is working pretty well. And the hot germanium really is consuming most of the chlorine, really. And there hasn't been any leaks, and the argon's done its job. Everyone's played their part. Good job, team. Yeah, everyone except those clouds. And were meant to protect me, but they just left. All right, great. I will finish this last bit of germanium up and then start packing this up, and we can have a look at our liquid germanium tetrachloride. This might be the most yellow thing I've ever created. I swear it's not a bit. I don't expect these things to go yellow, yet I'm not surprised when they do. Seriously. Let's have a look at this in the light, actually. God damn, look how yellow this is. Look at that. Apart from the yellowness, it's beautiful. Look at this. It's a free-flowing liquid. You can nearly say this is an organic solvent. It's really nothing looking at this flask that tells you that this is a germanium compound. All right, well, should weigh out thing. Just put the protective layer down. Ooh. Yeah, okay, it's smoking a lot. And a horrific smell of chlorine. That is a lot worse than I thought it was going to be. Let's deal with this immediately. I shouldn't have done this in a beaker, but yeah, goddamn. So we've just got some distilled water here, nothing else but distilled water. We'll be adding our germanium tetrachloride to that. You see it kind of gels out. Ugh. This is our trap solution. It's got sodium carbonate mixed in with a lot of the germanium dioxide as a trapped in. So I think I'm just going to mix these two in together, but just add a little bit of this. The sodium carbonate will instantly react with the hydrochloric acid formed from the tetrachloride, reacting with the water. Oh God, a lot of acid generated already. Gosh. Alright, I think you get the idea. I'm going to move this outside. The hydrochloric acid vapor is a bit too apparent. And after mixing all the solutions and letting it cool, still a little bit hot, but yes, everything's neutral now. And look, that's our solid there. It's settled out really nicely and really quickly too, as you'd expect from a dense oxide like germanium dioxide. Fantastic. The yellow color has disappeared. Yeah, once again, I think it's residual chlorine. So yeah, once we neutralized it, the yellow color disappeared, which is always nice to see. I'm just really amazed that this worked. It was a little bit ambitious, and it's not even dark yet. Look, it's still daytime. Usually by the time I finish packing everything up, it's dark. One other slight note is there's a little bit of stuff left in the flask here, but I think we did definitely melt the stir bar. Where can we see that? So yeah, we really had to push it to like close to 300 degrees, which is definitely the Teflon sort of softening point. Kept one chunk of germanium just in case everything didn't work, and I have a little nice souvenir, even though I definitely have that germanium lens still. We'll work out how much germanium dioxide we have once we've weighed and dried it, so let's get to doing that. Here is our germanium dioxide product. It's just been in the oven for about an hour at 100 or so degrees. Appeared dry on the funnel, then after the oven it lost a bit of weight, so I think there's just some sort of absorbed water on there or a bit of a hydrate kind of situation. Seem to have driven that off now. We only have 7.5 grams or so of germanium dioxide, which is a little low, a bit surprising. We had just over 9 grams of germanium in here because we started with 10.3 grams, but I've kept this just over a gram here, this lump. There's a little bit of residual crap left in the flask, so a little bit there. We ended up with 58% yield just based on germanium tetrachloride that we had in the flask, but we know that there was quite a bit more germanium dioxide caught in the trap, and so we combined them together. I was expecting to get a much better yield than 58%, but after all neutralization and then filtering and drying and everything like that, we've got 57% yield. So whether or not some germanium dioxide is still all redissolved in here, there's definitely some mechanical losses and a bit of stuff that went through the filter and everything like that. But to lose half of our germanium somewhere in here is a bit surprising. We may have just lost it to the atmosphere, which is always a bit of an unsettling thought, but the trap wasn't hugely efficient. It's just surprising running these numbers actually, and it should be easy to point at my scale and say that, well, surely this is doing a crap job of actually estimating yield. Doesn't look flat or anything like that, but I do have a calibration weight and it should be 20 grams. Oh, it's a little over. Oh, nah, it's fine. Yeah, so no worries about the scale just reading wrong. That's always a good thing to check. Don't know where the yield went, but regardless, we definitely have enough germanium to go forward. We have 7.5 grams. I'll use probably about half of that, and I'll work out how much bismuth trioxide we need, weigh this all out, and I'll meet you all back here at the microwave once I have everything weighed out. Yeah, it's microwaving time. Okay, and here we are with the microwave. This microwave has survived to yet another video. We've got our microwave furnace here, which is a ceramic material with a big graphite inside. The graphite material absorbs all the microwaves and gets very hot, so we have this interior that gets to over 1,000 degrees, which is exactly what we need to melt down this light yellow powder into our orange glass. It's been a while since we used this. It seems okay condition, except for this part, which it seems a mud wasp has built a nest in there, or a little cocoon, which I can't blame it. It's kind of like the perfect size for those wasps. You're gonna have to punch that out. God damn, they build good nests. I hope there's no spiders in there. Oh, yeah, it's a wasp nest that's filled with paralyzed spiders, so that then the wasp larvae, when they hatch, they eat the paralyzed spider, but the spider's still kind of alive in the mud cocoon. So it kind of stays fresh for the wasp larva, but yeah. But then you're left behind with these little intricate, well, not intricate, but these little mud chambers, which are weirdly strong for, you know, just a bunch of mud that's been put together by a little insect. So this is a 20 mole percent bismuth oxide to the germanium dioxide. This is just from the germanium glass paper, and I chose 20% because it looked like the nicest color. So hopefully we get something that we can see through, something that's clear, looks glassy, but who knows? It's not really the right crucible for it. Obviously in the paper they're using a fancy corundum crucible. It doesn't really absorb the material into it, the corundum, whereas we've kind of got this, what do we call it, ceramic-y kind of material that might absorb the oxide and make the glass all stick to it. So it's not ideal. We don't even know if we're going to be able to reach the temperatures. I mean, we think we will be able to, but we don't know. So it's a bit of an unknown. So we're just sending it. We're going to see how it goes. Got to do a couple minute bursts in the microwave. It's just going to get real hot, and we'll just let it go. It's liquid. Well, that looks way more molten than I thought it was going to be. Alright, we'll get a bit hotter. I reckon that's definitely pourable. What? What's on fire? Something on fire. Whoop. I think I'm catching the paint on fire. Whoops. Shit, that's hot. That's... Oh. Fuck yeah. Alright, let's get that molten and let's pour it out. No. Oh, so close. Alright, back in. No, come on. Come on. Why is this so possible? Hell yeah. No! Why do I suck so bad at this? Oh. Oh. Oh, a little bit of material left in there, but can't win them all. As soon as it cooled down just a little, it got really, really viscous. But hey, we got some bloody bits of glass. So no complaints that we didn't get everything. It's still a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And I only melted the table once. Dropped it one time. It's fine, no worries. Thanks to everyone who suggested these microwave furnaces, because when I first did my first microwave video, I didn't use this furnace and it didn't work very well. And then people were like, this product exists, and god damn is it a good product. Hell yeah. And here we go. We've ended up with 2.5 grams of really nice glassy material, which is just so weirdly like the thing we were trying to do. Look at it. It's not quite as orange as I'd expected it to be, but it is a nice clear glassy material for sure. It's transparent, it's glassy. Fantastic. Now, there's definitely a glass making step where this is annealed to remove stress, but we're not particularly using this in any sort of stressful situations. I think it's just going to cope. We're not going to polish this or anything like that. And it hasn't shattered after being cool for the last hour or so. So I think it should be okay. We've achieved our goal of making some bismuth germanate glass. So this is it. I've really enjoyed this. Maybe there's some other cool exotic glasses I can make in the microwave. As always, thanks for watching. If you've got any suggestions for videos and cool glasses especially, yeah, hit me up. But I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. All right, thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.